Hello, everybody. That's the weekly wave. Woohoo! I am in navy, including I have navy patent leather boots on and a white sweater, red lipstick, because it was, oh yay, Jose Ortiz got here early. Hello, everyone. So I very rarely talk. This is going to be probably not a full hour because I'm not sitting here with a bunch of news stories. I sent producer Stanton a photograph that's a very famous photograph, and I sent him a video that I shot today. Now, I am a passionate person, and I am an authentic person, and I am an honest person. However, being a comedian, so to speak, I couch a lot of things in humor, and a lot of people think because you're in the media, you're on the radio, you do a live stream, that you are an extrovert. And the reality is I'm not an extrovert. I'm actually incredibly private, and in some ways, I don't want to say antisocial, but I guess the only word I can put is, I like my alone time. I guess that's the best way to put it. I'm not antisocial at all, but I don't seek, how some people just are gadflies and they love to always have their calendar full and coffee dates and happy hours and girls' nights. I'm not that girl. I'm private, and I keep my opinions private, and I try to make things funny and very general. And I'm saying all of this because I'm actually going to talk about some things that are somewhat private, because I feel like now's the time. Why not? So, number one, for over 5 years, I say things out loud, and people confuse me saying things with wanting things. They're not the same thing. And I read on Twitter last night, the night before last actually, one of my super fans remembered that when I was a regular guest on the Stephanie Miller show, Mondays with Monique, that I said in the fall of 2015, I said that whoever won the 2016 election would be a one-term president, and not because they're old or a female or not prepared for the job, not a lifetime politician, but because the 2020 election would energetically be the one that shapes, it's a generation. 20 years is a generation. So the people that are 21 years old now were born in 1999. They were infants, toddlers at 9/11. They've heard of 9/11. They know what it was about. But it's interesting how the news cycle, there's people that don't remember what happened in Paris with Charlie Hebdo, or in Spain with the train station, or even our own bombing of the U.S. Embassy in the 90s, in the Clinton administration, the second one. There's so many things that shape how we become, who we become as a collective, that not everybody is in on the collective, because it's your A, individual memories, B, what you are reminded of because it is important to those around you, i.e. your parents, if you're in a church or a faith-based group, temple, or your age. Every single person is an individual in every way. We're a world. Every person is a world. And one of the reasons I'm not political is because it's a little bit too one size fits all for me. You know, I hear so many people say, when I lived in San Diego, they would say that they were, you know, fiscally conservative but socially liberal, or that they weren't religious but they were spiritual. I mean, we've all heard these things because it's very hard to fit people in a box, in a square, in a cubby, individuals. And what's interesting is that I have no interest in doing that, which is why when people say, what do you think of this or what do you think of that? I'm always very careful to answer, even if I have an opinion, which I usually do. And even if I've thought it through, which I usually have. And even if I've researched it or even done a deep dive, which I'm sometimes compelled to do. I don't feel pressure from externalities to reveal. And I think one of the problems in today's society is that it's a constant stream of TMIs and revelation. Interestingly enough, this week, I actually did do a deep dive on social media because I wanted to understand my core resistance to it. I have an inherent core conflict with social media. I always jokingly say that I'm the witness protection comedian, that I'm the Tom Waits of comedy, that I don't have a bunch of fans. I have the right fans, and the fans that I have love me passionately. Anybody who doesn't know who Tom Waits is, feel free to look him up. He's an amazing musician. We can add Leonard Cohen, although I think more people know of Leonard Cohen. And I've even, you know, blown people's mind by saying, by the way, Jeff Buckley did not write Hallelujah, nor did the multitudes of other people. Leonard Cohen wrote Hallelujah, which I heard today coming out of car windows, the Leonard Cohen version, which, you know, he's dead now, but at least he knows they figured it out. So I looked up social media. Sorry for leaning forward like this, but because I wanted to understand sort of the voyeurism, because that's what it is. It's voyeurism. And I wrote a lot of notes. For instance, FYI, Twitter was created because these things are brainstormed and created. Twitter was officially created 3/21/06. That's when it became a thing. The platform, the brainstorming, 3/21/06. Mind blown. 14 years of Twitter. I remember I didn't even have a Twitter account till 2009. And then it was reluctant. Again, witness protection. It took me from 2009 to 17 to get 5,000 Twitter followers. I still don't know what I'm doing. I now have over 8,000. Still not sure what I'm doing. I'm resistant to Twitter because I don't like anything that, you know, the word twit. But there's a reason why, okay? They decided to call it Twitter. It was a decision. First, it was spelled TWTTR because they were inspired by Flickr. And what they decided was that Twitter was a short, are you ready for this? And this is straight out of Wikipedia. A short burst of inconsequential information. A short burst of inconsequential information and chirps from birds. Chirps from birds. Oh, thank you for the Tom Waits picture, Producer Stanton. First of all, kudos to him. That opening blows my mind. Now, here we are 14 years later. To think that Twitter is short bursts of inconsequential information. There have been so many consequences over at least the last 8 years. It's been around since 06, but I think President Trump, when he was president, was a great user prior to even becoming president of Twitter to create things of enormous consequence, whether it was a raising or a lowering of people's understandings, opinions of things, whatever it was not inconsequential. Facebook, this blows my mind, September 26th of 2006 was when Facebook became general, that anyone over 13 could have. Before that, it was colleges, and expanded to junior colleges. A lot of people know the history of Facebook through the movie The Social Network. But if you didn't know, it started in Harvard, and it was called The Facebook. And it was basically a hot or not. This person is hotter than that person, or, anyway. And by June of 2011, it had 1 trillion page views. Now, again, I joined Facebook earlier than Twitter. I actually joined it pretty early on because I worked at a radio station and they made me. But I only had a personal page until I had a Showtime special, because here's how television works. When Not Skinny, Not Blonde aired, I got 256 emails in the first 15 minutes, and I maxed out my Facebook page after the first showing. And that was in April of 2013, which is when I had to start Monique Marvez official fan page, which I didn't even know that a personal page maxed out at 5,000, and then you had to become an entity. And it would make me laugh that I saw all of these people that would start a fan page that only had about 8 fans when they didn't have very many people on their personal page. Because in my mind, it was all public. None of it was ever personal. And it was phenomenally interesting to me to have a fan page. It just seemed, again, a little self-serving and voyeuristic. And what was interesting to me about Twitter was very frequently it was conversations, to me, what it appeared to be were conversations being had in public. Very personal, sometimes, conversations being had in public. And it became more and more. And it's funny to me because I thought, I don't want people to know what I had for lunch, or, having a public discussion, argument, controversy, whatever, with someone else in public. I wouldn't even text that. I'd pick up the phone and go, I'm sorry, we have a difference of opinion. And maybe I'm old school and maybe I'm analog. But the whole reason that I did this deep dive was because I don't want to stay stuck. I want to embrace and understand social media so that I can use it for good. Because ultimately, it's just a device, no different than money. It's the love of money that is the root of all evil, not money. Money's neutral. It's a tool. Social media is a tool. I'm intellectually grasping that, but I still have a little like that. I went on to look at Instagram, and Instagram's, the first photo was July of 2010. I was even blown away that Instagram's been around for 10 years plus. It seemed newer. And the most viewed photo on Instagram is an egg. And I think it was called World Record Egg. And it's been seen by, I wrote notes here somewhere, but they're very garbly. And February of 2005 was when YouTube started. So I looked all of these things, and it's interesting because when I watched, I don't care about Vine or Snapchat, I'm sorry. They're just not important, and certainly not TikTok, that is for sure. I'm still completely convinced that that's spyware run by robots. and probably all of it is, but that one seems obvious to me. And I'm not even good at this stuff. Interestingly enough, the egg was 1/4 of 2019. It's the most viewed image. And it was to promote mental health awareness. I remember watching the show Treme on HBO, which is about a post-Katrina New Orleans, the neighborhood of Treme in particular. And it's interesting because that took place in the fall of 2005, at which YouTube was February of 2005. And part of the plot is how one of the characters, John Goodman, discovers YouTube and goes viral. I actually have a friend, a comedian, who went viral doing this thing where he plays Bohemian Rhapsody on people's heads with mallets. It was one of the first viral videos. And another comedian, a juggler named Chris Bliss, also went viral in the very early days of YouTube. I could lie to you and say, oh, I get it now. But it would be a big fat lie. I don't get it. But I want to get it. And with me, once I want and I learn and I expand my mind and I get beyond my own comfort zone and I try to see it from a different angle, then I start to move in that direction. So I will become better at social media because I want to use it in a way that works, like this show, like the 3:30 I do on Facebook, where I go live every day at 3:30. And we are at Tuesday, election day was day 220. So 222, 223, 224. Today was my 225th live. Oh, thank you, Stanton. That's it. That's the egg. So, you know, today is 225. I'm 2 weeks away from 240, which is significant because I originally said I was only going to do 40 days, that it was going to be very much like biblical, like Noah's Ark, like we were all in this together. There was an invisible flood. And words are powerful. So if you notice, I very rarely say pandemic or COVID. I say pause for the cause. I'm telling you all of this because, again, I don't know a lot about technology or social media. I'm not a political person. I never once looked up the statistics. I never once looked up, and I don't mean in this week, I mean since the beginning, when they were like, this candidate can beat Trump or that candidate, or when they were narrowing the fields. I've been apolitical. What I said in 2015, going back to it being a generation since the 2000 election. And I remember the 2000 election because an election night of 2000, I had a show at the Comedy Store. I had a friend who was dying of leukemia at UCLA. I remember that day like it was 7 seconds ago because I lived in San Diego. I was heartbroken. I had just gone through the worst breakup of my adult life to this very second with a man that I now only refer to as Dog of Satan. And me and my friend Hope, which is the most great, like perfect name to be close to someone during the hardest time of your life, because she is the embodiment of hope. Me and my friend Hope drove north from San Diego, went to UCLA, visited my dying friend who I saw for the last time on election night, got to the Comedy Store. Another dear friend of mine was there with a guy. I didn't know he was one of nature's bachelors. So it was a day. You know what I mean? It was like a day from wall to wall, start to finish, from leaving San Diego in the early afternoon until getting back to our apartment very late that night. And I had a wonderful set. And I remember that was the first rumblings of, we're not going to get an answer about the presidential election tonight. And we all know what happened. Well, maybe we don't. Maybe you'll have to do a deep dive. What's interesting to me is that 4 years ago, when Donald Trump won, many of my friends were very, very angry with me. I'm okay with that. I coined the term. Actually, my friend coined it and I popularized it and used it. TAD, Trump anxiety disorder. And I spent a lot of time reminding friends, hey, you know, politicians don't come to your house. They don't cook you lunch. They don't carve your Thanksgiving turkey. It's okay to be invested. It's not okay to take things deeply personal and get yourself wound around the axle. I had friends who wore T-shirts that said "Not my president," and they would get mad at me because I would say, whether you like him or not, he is the president. He is. I'm 58. There's been presidents I didn't like, but there has, and there's been presidents that I like very much. There has. There's an episode of Mad Men called Nixon versus Kennedy. It's one of my favorites. It's first season, and it goes very deep into that. A lot of people don't realize, we look back and we think that John F. Kennedy won by a landslide. He didn't. He absolutely didn't. It was at that time the closest election. At that time, it was a very, very close election. Too close to call in some ways. And again, during that episode, there were people grumbling that, Joe Kennedy had paid off the Irish mob, had paid off the Italian mob, and dead people were voting. None of this is new. 4 years ago, everybody was wrapped around the axle that the Russians used Facebook or whatever. And I don't say these things with the rolling of the eyes, any more than I have friends that are very upset about today and say it was this happened or that happened. Well, as an American, I find it unnerving that people believe that the election is hijackable, stealable, that whatever happens, happens. Whatever happened in 2000 with the recount, and there's been movies and satire and commentary. At the end of the day, the Democratic Party itself told Al Gore, give it up already, and maybe we've forgotten that because it was 20 years ago, almost. But here's a little sidebar I want you to think about as individuals. I have a friend whose marriage broke up because she wanted a child very, very badly, and it became an obsession. She kept doing IVF, and it was a big deal. And there were some problems. Evidently, I didn't even know you could be allergic to your husband's sperm. A lot of pressure came to bear, financial, emotional, spiritual, on a marriage that was childless and was looking like it was going to remain childless. And I asked her one day, her name was Kim. I can close my eyes and picture her. This was in the 80s. And I was a very young woman. But I've always had an understanding of sorrow coming from a dad who was manic depressive, and joy coming from a dad who was manic depressive. And I asked her name was Kim. She's a beautiful African American girl, a nurse, registered nurse, very, very successful nurse. She had a job in a very prominent doctor's office in Miami. And I said, Kim, I want to ask you a question. And please don't be angry with me. I would like you to tell me the job that you have ascribed, that you have given to this child. What is this child going to do for you? I need to know why having a child is so monumentally important to you, that you are, you're crashing your life against rocks and potentially damaging your marriage and putting yourself into financial ruin. If you can articulate it, if you are capable of articulating to me, what job have you hired this unborn child to do in your life? And I didn't say it out loud, but in my mind, I was thinking, that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody who's not even here yet. And what I'm asking people on both sides, extreme and closer together, what position in your life have you placed politics and the presidency in What do you expect it to do for you that you are unable to do without it? Because a lot of people over the last 4 years have gotten upset with me that I am ambivalent, that I respect the office, that I say that I'm a patriot and not a political person, that I don't reveal my opinion, that I never discussed who I voted for, that both sides of my friends are 100% sure that I'm on their side and just won't say. I am here to tell you that there is, I don't want to say an ambivalence, but it's an externality. I'm not driven by that any more than I'm driven by if the Miami Dolphins win or that the Lakers won. I'm very clear on what is going to make a tangible difference in my day-to-day life, in my day-to-day ability to be a comedian, to get on YouTube, to voice my opinion, to be compassionate, to lend, a hand, to raise a spirit, to do what I was designed to do. You see, I answer to, like the Hebrew National commercial, I have my own North Star that is much bigger than being, a woman who should be excited about a woman or a this or a that. My first point of identity is that I am a human being and I am a organic peacemaker. It's part of my personality. If you want to read into it, if you're one of those people, I'm a Libra. I seek balance. And I was born under the sign of Venus, so I like beauty and love. My rising sign or whatever. I've had my chart done. It's fun. It's fun. It's a parlor trick. But the point is, me personally, Monique Marvez, I'm a very even-keeled, self-generating person. I don't care if people like me or don't like me. I like me. And I like you. I like you a lot. And when I say that, I mean the wonderful things that I get from people are because they understand that whatever our differences are, I seek inclusion. I seek at every moment, every day that I'm alive, I seek, what do we have in common? Oh, wow, you have nostrils and you breathe oxygen? Cool. You're a carbon-based life form that breathes oxygen? I love air too. I mean, if all we have in common is that you breathe, we will discuss oxygen. That's how strong my desire is to find a commonality. That is my driving force, is to close gaps, is to heal fissures, is to let people know that at our core, we want good things for ourselves and our children. And I don't have children, but I have nieces that I worship and adore. And even my nieces who live in San Francisco and are extremely liberal and overjoyed today, over the moon. I personally went on a family group chat and said that I noticed that 2 of my cousins who live in Texas, who are not liberal, did not feel comfortable on a family chat wishing another party in my family a happy birthday. And that made me a little bit sad. And I was criticized on the family chat for bringing that up. And that's okay. I don't care. I love my cousins. They were my cousins before I knew what the presidency was. They were my cousins when we went to the beach in Miami. And the only thing we cared about was, getting a really good grandma hamburger. Like Eddie Murphy talks about, the lumpy hamburger and the soggy bun. and the warm sand. If we had a good Abuela Josephine hamburger, hamburguesa, as she called it, and, we were in the warm water of Cape Florida, we were good. And we're still good. And you're good. And I'm good. And I know a lot of you are jubilant, and I know a lot of you are disappointed. And some of you, and I had a conversation just a few minutes ago, are more like me. You're kind of ambivalent. You're a little more interested in, whether it's COVID or Marvel Comics or whatever it is. Whatever it is that makes you happy. If the Mandalorian's going to keep up its quality in the following seasons, whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, I knew this morning that something was afoot because I live on Hollywood and Vine. And the honking was deafening this morning. So I woke up, and then I got dressed, and I drove down to the neighborhood where I shot the video you guys saw, the protest video that you guys saw 3 weeks ago, because it's a very diverse, young, dynamic, hipster neighborhood. And I wanted to be in the swim of that energy as an observer. Because interestingly enough, I think one of the reasons that I will be able to embrace social media is when I do it the same way I do comedy, which is it's not about me. I'm a camera. I'm a journalist. I studied journalism. I was on the yearbook staff in the newspaper in junior high and high school and junior college, which I never completed. But I am indeed in many ways a voyeur. I am an observer. Say that 3 times fast. It's a tongue twister. I am an observer of life. I stay out of it. I don't want to get in the middle of it. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to change the particles. I want to observe it from a place of neutrality and be able to report on it from that place. And the funny thing is that I don't know that we have more than a handful of journalists, if that feel the way that I do. And I'm not even a journalist. I'm a comedian / whatever you want to call me, air talent. I used to be an air talent. I guess even though it's not radio, podcaster, live streamer, YouTuber, whatever you want to call me. But I want to see it. I want to observe it from a place of objectivity, of just reporting. This is what I'm seeing. And today I saw unprecedented outpouring of emotion. Now, I don't even want to say it was this kind of emotion or that kind of emotion, because what I recorded kind of speaks for itself. But it was a traffic jam. There were people playing musical instruments and loud music blaring out of every car window, every apartment, restaurants. I walked into a store and just in the way I do things say, well, it seems like out on the street, the general consensus is that people are mildly pleased with the outcome. And the woman that runs the store burst into laughter because the honking was deafening. It was absolutely deafening. And here's the difference between me and most people. I know that that's a piece of Sunset Boulevard in a city called Los Angeles, in a state called California. I'm not one of those people that says, if I'm observing this and I'm seeing the way people are feeling, that must mean that everybody's feeling that way, which is what a lot of people's brains do. I understand that there are some people who don't feel that way. I understand that there are some people that are ambivalent or that feel strongly the other way. But one of the reasons I put myself there is because there were very young people. I'm 58 years old. I say it all the time because I'm proud and I don't care and I look damn good in my blue tight pants. I would show you, but it would be kind of rude to stand up and turn around, and I'd be like everybody else on Instagram, which I call Astagram, because there's a lot of butts on Instagram. That being said, I understand that as humans, as much as we talk about being grown-ups and acting adult and doing adult things, when we're happy or when we're hurt, our emotions are that of a child. I don't know what being a grown-up feels like, because a lot of times when people say, oh, grow up, what they're implying is to take control of your emotions. Suck it up, stiff upper lip. And that being said, I myself have never heard the expression adult of God. Everyone is a child of God, because emotions are visceral, they're authentic, they're very real, and they're very real to you when you're feeling them, like a child. And I think that whoever's at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, shrug. I think as people, Americans, because I live in America and I live stream from America, but I'm blessed with fans all over the world. Blessed. I have a wonderful woman named Amber who lives in the Canary Islands. So I told her, even though Amber's, names are important and Ambers usually will, spin around a pole, maybe Canary Island Ambers are different than American Ambers. I don't even know if there's strip clubs in the Canary Islands. But there's a lot of birds, so maybe Twitter is big in the Canary Islands. It would be appropriate if Twitter was big in the Canary Islands. But my friend Amber, who's become a friend, because she sends me marvelous messages, lives in the Canary Islands. And I have a friend named David, who's part of the 3:30 gang, that checks in every day at 3:30, even though it's very late at night in the UK. And you can still hear it outside my window. That being said, I'm asking you, as a child of God, as an emotional, authentic being, as a lovely person who seems to like my work, because you stayed in here for 37 minutes and 43 seconds, to think about how you were as a child and how you got over things quickly, and how you could have a fight with somebody on Tuesday and be best friends in the sandbox by Friday, because it seemed like grown-ups had some sort of spiritual arthritis and got stuck. But as a child, you were limber, and your spirit was limber, and your heart was limber, and you could do things faster, and you got over things faster, and your short-term memory's default setting was love, and your short-term memory's default setting was love. You remembered your birthday. You remembered Christmas. Remember when you were a little kid, the things you remembered? Things that were important? You couldn't wait for certain things to happen because you knew they were going to be good. Maybe you went to the kind of kindergarten that I went to, that on your birthday, your mother was allowed to bring in cupcakes for every child. That was a big day. My birthday was September 23rd. So through school, my cupcake day came pretty early in the year. So I made sure my mom got good cupcakes. Whoever you are, if you can hear my voice, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what's going on a ground level when you decide that you want higher and better. It's your decision. That's what you vote for. In fact, the reason why the thumbnail for today's show is me in Disneyland with a mask on is because on election day, Tuesday, I made up my mind that I was going to vote for happiness. And I went to Disney. Wasn't open. Downtown Disney was open though. I made a reservation and I went with sound guy Tony. And we took pictures and we took some videos, and I did 3:30 from there. And producer Stanton and I are trying to figure out. In fact, I went and looked now that they have iPhone 12s. I looked at getting a second phone and a second tripod so that I could, thank you for posting that, Producer Stanton, so that I could start, and we're going to do this sooner than later, at least Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, doing the 3:30 on YouTube as well as Facebook, because I've had a lot of people say I'm not really a Facebook person, and some of them have very strong opinions about that. Some people have strong opinions about Mark Zuckerberg. Okay, I get it. And I'm all about making it easy for you to find me, because I want to be found now. I don't want to be witness protection comedian. I'm researching, I'm learning, I'm overcoming blocks on a core level. I'm seeking out my resistance and my hesitations and how I can do better and be better for you and for myself. So I hope that I've said a thing, maybe two, if I'm lucky three's a charm, that have let you know that today's a day, just like yesterday was a day and tomorrow will be a day. It's a day. And people will come and go in positions of authority and lesser positions. And you have people in your life that have way more sway over you, whose opinions and the way they feel, and you know, maybe you're in a marriage that's challenged by COVID. I have a lot of friends that have reached out to me and said, you know, it's going on month 8 of, you know, Chuck not having a job, and having to look at Chuck on the couch every day is like, you know, it's people are being challenged and really pressed in so many ways that anything we can do as Americans, because at our core, we're all good people. We all have some level of concern and caring for our fellow man. We just do. It's hardwired in us. It's part of our DNA as being part of, you know, this noble experiment / melting pot / whatever you want to call it. I refuse to use negative verbiage. I love that picture, Stanton. Love. I sent Producer Stanton the famous picture of V-Day, the sailor kissing the nurse. You can see it there. Because that's how we should feel all the time, no matter what's going on in Washington. Jubilance and joy are our right. Now, in the Constitution, it talks about the pursuit of happiness. But again, I answer to bigger things. And joy is the way we were designed. And that's biblical. That's big. It's in our DNA. We were designed to be happy. I'm very happy today. I was happy yesterday. I was happy 3 weeks ago. I'll be happy on New Year's Eve. I might even have a little bit of alcohol. I did have some champagne last New Year's Eve. I'm not going to go the full hour because clearly I'm not doing stories, and I'm not a political person, and I've said everything I have to say, and I've revealed to you my resistance of social media that I am going to overcome. That's my goal, is to control what I can control, which is, you know, getting closer to you and hopefully encouraging you to get closer to each other. And hopefully, you know, I can tell you this on my 3:30, that whenever anybody on either side posted something political over the last 225 days, I would say, that's not what this is about, and that's not the place for this. And I'm incredibly grateful that 99.9% of the time, the person immediately retracted it, in other words, took it off the feed, or apologized, or made a joke, you know, made a little joke of it and said, that's not exactly what I meant. But I knew that they got the message. And going forward, I'm going to continue that policy. I want you to think of this show, Talk of Our Times, as a safe space, as a place that you can come and get love and get positivity and know that you're not going to hear something that's going to rattle you and make you feel excluded and not part of something bigger. This is a community. That's what I want. Right now we have 4,460. Yeah, I checked. That's a good group of people. I would like more, and I'm grateful that you guys are recommending me to your friends. Thank you. Keep doing it. Like the show. Tap the like. But this is a community that's about inclusion, that's about acceptance, that's about understanding other people's opinion, even if we don't agree. That, like all Americans, I may not like what you say, but I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. I didn't say that. That's a paraphrase of a famous quote. I want you to know that when I'm in the room, when I've got the mic, I will take every precaution that no one will feel less than or hurt or damaged or like something was lost and something was gained. I don't live in a sum-zero world. I don't live in a dog-eat-dog world. I don't live in a it's me or you. I don't live in that world. There's plenty. It's going to be okay. I promise. Thank you for giving me your time, and I appreciate you more than you know. And next Saturday will be a regular show. But until then, you know the drill, guys. Love hard, forgive harder, and get as happy as you can, as fast as you can.